Suppose in an SHM we want the amplitude of an oscillation. To determine the amplitude, firstly, the simplest possible version, if I pull this body down by a distance of x and release, that will be the amplitude. Because when you pull a body by some distance, the body cannot on its own further create energy. So whatever is the maximum displacement you give, that will remain as the amplitude of the body.
Yes, sir.
This displacement can be given in so many forms. They can tell you that they placed the spring mass system inside an elevator and the elevator initially accelerates and thereafter moves with uniform velocity. Now when the elevator initially accelerates, a pseudo force of capital M into capital A will act in the downward direction. So first of all, it will come down by a distance of x naught, and I can write kx naught is equal to mg. But by further accelerating upwards, a pseudo force of ma will act, which will be equal to ma plus mg is kx plus kx naught. Kx naught and mg will go. So x will be equal to ma by k, where a is the acceleration of the frame. So it is an indirect means of actually pulling the mass in the downward direction and releasing. It is an indirect means of pulling the mass in the downward direction and releasing. Right? Once you pull the mass in the downward direction and release, it will oscillate with an amplitude of capital A. So firstly, the simplest possible means of finding out amplitude is the distance by which you have displaced it from the equilibrium position. Distance by which you have displaced it from the equilibrium position. This is the first and the simplest version. I need the board to proceed. Second means of finding out the amplitude. The second means is, if you have a system where the velocity is 0 and acceleration is 0, the shortest distance between them will be the amplitude. The shortest distance between them will be the amplitude of the oscillation. Where velocity is 0 and acceleration is 0, the shortest distance will be the amplitude. Like, can you give an example for this? There is a spring mass system. This is M, then this is K. This particle has a charge of Q. You know, if there is an electrostatic field E, force on the charged particle is E into Q. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now this will be the electrostatic field. Now if you switched on the electrostatic field at this instant, when the system is in equilibrium, the spring is not stretched. At this instant, you switched on the electrostatic field. When you switched on the electrostatic field, you reach a point where now here acceleration is 0. Fine, here velocity was 0. And here acceleration will be 0. Where do you think acceleration will be 0? The force will be EQ, kx will be in the backward direction. When both of them are equal, acceleration becomes 0. At that particular instant, this travelled by a distance of x. And my requirement for amplitude is shortest distance between 2 points. Which 2 points? Point at which the velocity is 0 and point at which acceleration is 0. Hence kx is equal to EQ. X is equal to EQ by K. X is equal to EQ by K. Right? This will be the distance between the 2 points. The points where the velocity is 0 and acceleration is 0. So this is the second way of finding out the amplitude of a particular oscillation. There may be several other examples where you may exactly get the distance between velocity and acceleration to be 0 at the 2 points. That will be the amplitude. Quick. Third, if I know the total energy of the system at some stage, I am given M, K, some particle comes and collides with it with a velocity of U. It may be elastic, inelastic, collision, however it is. Conserve the momentum between these two and find out the final velocity. Once I know that, the spring yet didn't start getting compressed. Once the spring didn't start getting compressed, because the spring is not yet compressed, the total energy will be half capital M V square.
Yes, sir.
equate it to half m omega square a square, or rather half k a square, because m omega square is a. You conserve momentum between these two. Small mu is equal to capital M V1, capital M V plus small m into V naught, and then he will give you the value of V. He will tell you what kind of collision it is. If he tells you that the bullet got embedded into it, then both of them are moving with the same velocity. Both the velocities will be the same. One equation is surplus for you to get the value of V. By chance, if he tells you that it is not a perfectly inelastic collision, he will tell you the value of V. This will be V minus V naught upon U minus 0. So from these two, I will get the value of V. That V I will substitute here, and once I know that, equate it to half k square, will I get the amplitude? Indirectly, we are trying to impose on you a condition that if ever I know the total energy of the SHM at any particular point, equate it to half m omega square a square. I should know the time period omega from which I get the value of the amplitude of the oscillation. Is this clear? Quick. Now what if a typical problem from Irido? He says this pan is light and there is a particle of mass m falling from a height of h. This is k. He writes this is light. He put us into an handicapped situation here. If he would have given me mass for this, I would have conserved momentum between this, and I would have found out the common velocity. By not giving mass for this particular pan, I cannot conserve momentum between this and this. Though he is telling us that small m sticks to the pan on collision. 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 He is asking you for the amplitude of the oscillation. First of all, it will come down by a distance of x naught, where I can say kx naught is equal to mg.
Yes, sir.
But it will not stop here. This is the point where the force became 0 but not the velocity. So till it came down till here, mg was greater than kx. At this point, mg is equal to kx. If it further goes down, kx is greater than mg, so the particle will get decelerated and finally it will come till a distance of x and it will stop.
Yes, sir.
Now what will my amplitude be? This is the point where the force is becoming 0. This is the point where the velocity is becoming 0.
X
naught. X minus x naught will be the amplitude. Look at the procedure to be followed. Conservation of momentum between small m and the pan is not permitted because pan is light. Total loss in potential energy mgh plus x will be equal to half k x square. Total loss in potential energy will be equal to half k x square.
Yes, sir.
Right? Only then I can tell you that it comes to rest here.
Yes, sir.
Now this will be 2 mg h by k plus 2 mg by k into x is equal to x square. I just multiplied with 2 all throughout and divided by k. Now this is a quadratic equation in x. X square minus 2 mg by k into x minus 2 mg h by k is equal to 0. Solution of this quadratic equation will be x is equal to minus b 2 mg by k plus or minus root over of 4m square g square by k square plus 8 mg h by k divided by 2. This will turn out to be mg by k plus or minus root over of m square g square by k square plus 2 mg h by k. Can I call this to be x naught? Will I get x minus x naught from here? And obviously I can see x minus x naught is plus or minus this. That means above and below. So from the equilibrium position it will go above and below. Hence I am getting plus or minus that particular quantity. Plus will be in one direction, minus will be in the other direction. Hence that will be the amplitude. Now the third application is application of SHM in fluid dynamics. Incidentally, fluid dynamics is yet to be covered for you people, but there is one concept which you are already aware of, buoyancy. You have learnt in your schools. We use the same parameter here as it is. The first stage, how do you define buoyancy? We will again deal with buoyancy in detail in fluid dynamics. Right now, we will use only this word upthrust to complete the problems in SHM. Buoyancy. As far as buoyancy is concerned, upthrust should be equal to weight of liquid displaced. This should be equal to weight of liquid displaced. How does that help you in the concept of SHM? Have a look at this. Suppose there is a cylinder floating on this way. There is a cylinder floating on this way. That means I'll compare this with a spring mass system. One point we would like to highlight here. Till now, whenever we took the restoring force, we took x naught and we said from x naught, if it is displaced by a distance of x, net total restoring force was kx naught plus kx minus mg equal to mass into acceleration. So always mg and kx naught were getting cancelled out. So what was actually contributing to the restoring force? From the equilibrium position, whatever additional restoring force generated on displacement contributes to the restoring force. Yes, right? Yes. From the equilibrium position, when I displace it by a distance of x, whatever is the additional force generated, that alone will be the restoring force.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here also, weight of the block and buoyancy are being balanced here. A is the area of cross section of the cylinder. Rho is the density of the liquid. M is the mass of the cylinder.
Yes, sir.
So, this volume of the liquid displaced is balancing out mg. But suppose I slightly suppress this and release it. I slightly suppress and release it. I suppress this by a distance of x. It will perform SHM. Obviously, we will calculate the time period. Now, what will contribute to the restoring force here? The restoring force will be equal to additional buoyancy generated. Don't tell me this volume will contribute to restoring force. That will balance the weight. So when I suppress it further by a distance of x from the equilibrium position, whatever is the additional buoyancy generated, that will be ax into rho g. This will be the additional buoyancy generated. Additional buoyancy from the equilibrium position. This will be equal to the restoring force. So I write this as ax rho g is equal to mass into acceleration. A is equal to a rho g by m into x. Obviously with a negative sign because a and x are not in the same direction. Omega will be under root a rho g by m. Sometimes they will not give you the mass of the block. Instead, they will give you the height of the block and the density of the block. You already know the area of cross section. You can calculate the volume. That into the density of the block will be the mass of the block.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Quick. Density of the liquid is rho. This is a spring. Find the time period of this oscillation. Make it fast. You are committing a mistake here. When this goes down by a distance of x, additional buoyancy is 0. Buoyancy, whatever is the buoyancy here also it will be the same. Volume of the liquid displaced is the same. There is no additional buoyancy. Buoyancy is constant. Constant force will not contribute to an SHM. Acceleration should be directly proportional to displacement. So here there is no additional buoyancy. Mg is constant, buoyancy is constant. What is the only restoring force? Restoring force is equal to kx. Equate it to mass into acceleration. Hence omega will be under root. Additional buoyancy is 0. Buoyancy and weight are balancing each other. Now when I suppress it, from the equilibrium, is there any additional buoyancy generated? No, because volume of the liquid displaced is the same. Find the time period of the oscillation. Symbols mean the same. Rho is the density of the liquid, m is the mass of the block, a is the area of cross section, k is the spring constant.
2 pi root m upon a rho g plus k.
Right. Now here you will be adding both. Now this is x. When I pull it down by a distance of x, there is additional buoyancy generated. So kx plus additional buoyancy. Ax is the additional volume of the liquid displaced into density of liquid into g is equal to mass into acceleration. Net total restoring force will be kx plus this quantity. As a result of which A is equal to k by m plus a rho g by m into x. Omega will be under root k by m plus a rho g by m. That will give me the time period of the oscillation. This is called a metastable condition. If you take a bamboo stick and you make it float over the waters, it will never float this way, it will fall.
Yes, sir.
The reason being, if you have a bamboo stick this way, center of mass will be here but buoyancy will be here. Buoyancy will act at the centroid of the immersed part. Buoyancy is the force upthrust acting due to the weight of the liquid displaced. That will act at the centroid of the immersed part. If that acts at the centroid of the immersed part, even the slightest tilt in the body, now this will be mg and the buoyancy will be this. So even the slightest tilt, it will produce a clockwise torque and hence the body will fall.
Yes, sir.
You want to prevent this, what do? Add iron ball bearings to the lower bottom. Add iron ball bearings to the lower bottom. Iron ball bearings will contribute to a greater shift in the center of mass and a lesser shift in the buoyancy. Why lesser shift in the buoyancy? Because iron ball bearings don't contribute to much of a buoyancy. The volume of the water displaced will be much lesser.
Yes, sir.
The only difference is because of the iron ball bearings, this will slightly come down. Taking all the parameters into consideration, add so many iron ball bearings that center of mass and buoyancy will be at the same point. So net total torque about the center of mass will become 0. But yet, we are not happy with this. Further, we add few more iron ball bearings such that this will further come down so that the buoyancy will be here and center of mass will be here. What is the advantage in this procedure? The advantage is, now if I tilt this in this direction, buoyancy will act in the upward direction to produce a reverse torque. You tilt this in one direction, there will be a restoring torque pulling it back to the equilibrium position. You have small kids' toys constructed in this way. You make them sit on the ground, you hit, that will come back. You observe the toy carefully, the lower basement will be very heavy. And inside there will be air trapped in. So the parameter is, the concept is about bringing down the center of mass. And this is one of the reasons why a ship is made on the lower deck with iron. Despite the fact that they have hell of a corrosion problem on the sea weather. Sea weather there will be lot of corrosion. Rust will make holes in the ship iron, cast iron. Yet they will take the trouble of maintaining it by regular painting. And compulsorily they will have iron on the lower bottom because the level of the ship will slightly go down, and if the ship bends this way also, the restoring torque will pull it back to the equilibrium position.
Yes.
To add to that, the dimension of the ship will be slightly different. The ship will not be a straight line like this. Instead, the ship will come this way. The shape of the structure of the ship will be this. This will be the center of mass, this will be the buoyancy. Now in this case, for me to produce a reverse torque, because it was a thin rod, compulsorily I had to add so much of an iron so that center of mass will come below buoyancy. But in the case of ship, I have a disadvantage in doing it. Why? If I bring down the center of mass to a much lower extent, the speed of the ship will be compromised. Stand in the waters till this height and try to walk, it will be very difficult. If the level of the water is lower, I can walk easily. So hence, the larger proportion of the ship, if it is inside the waters, the speed of the ship will be compromised with. The ship should rise up, but at the same time, it should not be unstable equilibrium. Hence, what do? Is they don't want to bring the center of mass to a much lower point. They keep the center of mass above slightly, but they play with the design of the ship so that buoyancy will always act at the centroid of the immersed part. Center of mass will remain here and buoyancy will come to the right because larger proportion is displaced here. Buoyancy will act at the centroid of the immersed part. Now this will be force due to buoyancy, which will produce a reverse torque about the center of mass, pulling it back to the equilibrium position. Is the point clear?
Yes, sir.
Quick, JEE people designed one question on this subtopic. We'll discuss that. I need the board for that. Listen, the question framed by the JEE people. This is a thin rod hinged at the lower bottom. L is the length of the rod, D is the density of the rod, rho is the density of the liquid. He is telling you density of the rod is lesser than the density of the liquid. Density of the rod is lesser than the density of the liquid. If I remove the hinge, the rod will go up. If I remove the hinge, the rod will go up because density of the rod is lesser than the density of the liquid. Now he tells you that he rotates this by a small angle theta. Obviously it will perform SHM. This will be force due to buoyancy. This will be force due to buoyancy. This will be mg. Now force due to buoyancy and mg, Fb minus mg into L by 2 sin theta will be equal to I into alpha. You are taking the torque about the lowermost point.
Yes, sir.
Fb minus mg into L by 2 sin theta will be equal to I into alpha. What will be the buoyancy equal to? He didn't give you the area of cross section of the rod.
Rho minus rho.
Buoyancy will be equal to L into A, volume of the liquid displaced, assuming A to be the area of cross section, into density of the liquid into G, minus mass will be L into A into density of the body into G.
Yes, sir.
Into L by 2 into theta. I replace the sin theta with theta.
Yes, sir.
Will be equal to ml square by 3 into alpha.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
When we further simplify this, L cube by 2 A G rho minus D L cube by L cube, it is L square. L I bought outside, here I have L, it is L square into A into G. 2, I kept theta here, mass of the rod will be A into L into D, L square by 3 into alpha. Is the simplification clear? Now relax. Here JEE people committed one blunder. They called this a thin rod. They thought they designed a very comfortable question where the area of cross section will get cancelled out, and they didn't give you the value of area of cross section. You assumed area of cross section and you solve the problem. You are cancelling it out. You can cancel out area of cross section on both sides if and only if capital A is not equal to 0. If it is not equal to 0, then I cannot call it a thin rod. This ml square by 3 itself is not defined. You cannot tell me I am assuming very small area of cross section, because in the formula for derivation for moment of inertia of a thin rod, you never assumed capital A and then told me that capital A was very, very small. You took capital A to be 0. That means 0 by 0 is being cancelled out here. It's a blunder.
Yes, sir.
Then what is the conceptual mistake that they have committed? The conceptual mistake is, if this is a thin rod without area of cross section, volume of the liquid displaced is 0.
Yes, sir.
Buoyancy will not exist. Then what do you want us to use? They were supposed to tell you that this is a solid cylinder. Give me the area of cross section. You know the moment of inertia for a solid cylinder about this. Using parallel axis theorem, we would have translated it about the lowermost point. Is the point clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Yet, they are JEE people. They are supposed to give us seeds. Hence, whatever they say is right. In simple language, the boss is always right. Same is the situation here. They have committed a mistake. What they have done with this, we don't know. But this is an old JEE question. Now when I cancel out L square, what are you left with? Alpha is equal to G into rho minus D divided by 3G by 2LD. This into theta. Obviously with a negative sign. Alpha is directly proportional to theta. I get this to be the value of omega. Omega will be root over of 3G into rho minus D divided by 2LD. Think carefully and solve this problem. This is a solid cylinder released from this position. Density of this is rho by 3 and density of this is rho. Here the same solid cylinder of density 2 rho by 3 and density of the liquid is rho. This is a liquid. The solid cylinder is released from the upper surface of the liquid. Which among the two will perform SHM? Will both of them perform SHM or will none of them perform SHM? Which among the two will perform SHM? Or will both of them perform SHM or will none of them perform SHM? Listen, when do you think the net total force on the system? See, suppose this is a spring mass system. Now here it is in equilibrium. Net total force is 0. Right? From here it will be going up and below this. This will be the amplitude of the oscillation. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So from the equilibrium position, I am supposed to take net total force is 0. From the equilibrium position, whatever is the additional displacement x, the restoring force should be kx. It should be directly proportional to that displacement from the equilibrium position. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Then alone I can call it an SHM.
Yes, sir.
Now in buoyancy I understand that when will the body be having equilibrium position? When the weight of this particular body is equal to weight of the liquid displaced. Suppose I will tell you this to be x. In this particular case it is rho by 3. So this is rho. This is A into x into rho by 3 into G will be A into x into rho into G will be the buoyancy.
Yes, sir.
A into x is the volume of the liquid displaced. That into density of the liquid into G. Now if this buoyancy is equal to the weight of the body, H into A into rho by 3 into G.
Yes, sir.
This buoyancy is equal to weight of the body. This is the position where the body is in equilibrium position. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
That